pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Welcome to tonight's meeting. This is our combined work session voting meeting for December. Mrs. Conrad, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Gibbs.
Here.
Mrs. Ensfield. Here. Mr. Hammerschmidt.
Here.
Mr. Kirkwood.
Here.
Mr. Coos.
Here.
Mr. McGee.
Here.
Mr. Nimmo.
Here.
Mr. Parker.
Here. He's online.
Mr. Redwood.
Here.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome our guests tonight. Guessing most of you are here for the presentation. Item D, recognition of meetings. Tonight's regular meeting of the board. November 9th, we had executive session for personnel. November 21st was executive session for personnel, the athletic.
Let the record reflect for next meeting that there was an executive session held tonight for personnel from 6:10 until 6:42.
Item 2, pride and promises. Mr. Swerve.
So for this month's Pride and Promise Award, we'd like to recognize our Mrs. Workers Social Studies Committee Chair and her committee who helped with the assembly. We haven't had the Veterans Day Assembly at the elementary in probably about 3 years due to COVID, and we do it every other year. So when Mrs. Barker graciously took on the Social Studies Chair, she said, "Does that mean it's the assembly?" I said, "Yes." Do great. And just like always, lots and lots of help she had. I mean, I know there's people here and people couldn't come today, but it really was the entire school that really helped. But I know you guys put a lot of time into an organization, and it was one of the best assemblies, and we're still getting accolades about it. I mean, there was articles and some anonymous articles in the newspaper. Such a great show. The kids did great. You guys prepared great. The halls looked great. It was really awesome. It was really awesome. If you were able to be there and see it, it really was. So I will recognize everybody's here, and then if anybody would like to say anything, they may. So, Mrs. Barker.
Thank you.
Whiskey. Wade.
Thank you.
County. And a few people who were not here today, Mrs. Hennon, Mrs. Nicoludis, Mrs. Rogers, Mr. Dobbins-Beck, and Mrs. Dean Hall. You can play the integral part, like I said, as well as everybody else that I know helped out. So, if you'd like to say anything? If you don't have to, if you would like to.
I think the Veterans Day Assembly has always been one that was really touching through the elementary, and I'm sure the high school too. So I took over, and it literally, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack because there were so many moving pieces, but everybody who had already done things in the past stepped right in and stepped up and took care of this. And Mrs. Dean, did you say her too?
Yes.
There were so many people that really helped out with everything, and I kept telling everybody, I'll be better next year. I promise. But one of the biggest things was the honor guard. I started calling them, I think, September 1st before I was hired before I got department head, because I knew Betsy Warford had said it was hard to get them. All the schools tried to get them. So I thought, even if it's not me, whoever, Laurel, they're coming to Laurel. So they did. And the guy said, "You're definitely the first to call." And then a week later, he called and said, "Boy, are you lucky you called when you did." So we'll definitely remember to get them. Good. Because when he came, he said, "We'll probably have 4 or 5 of us." There were 12, and they were unbelievable. They did so many things. My husband was in the Air Force, and I went home and told him about, the folding of the flag. They explained what every single fold meant. And the man who did that was a great-grandfather of a first grader that we have. So they all just came, and they put forth so much effort. What I didn't realize was happening, and you knew, and I thought I knew, but apparently I wasn't completely listening. Not only did they fold the flag, there was a man and his wife there to accept the flag that was their brothers who had passed away. I mean, everything was just super meaningful. The kids were perfect. They hung on to every single word, every single thing that was happening. And then I had to get up right after they handed the flag to the man, and I realized what was happening, and I had to get out and close it. So I probably scarred most of the elementary student body because I couldn't speak. I was crying. One of the kids beside Mrs. Canfield was saying, "Is Mrs. Barker out there?" So anyway, it was a complete and total effort by every single person who put forth, including every kid who sat so intent on the whole thing. So thank you to a great committee that I got lucky enough to be put with. So thanks for that.
Any other committee members? Any comment for the board?
Happy with that. She makes it sound like she was frazzled, but not frazzled.
So I wasn't there. I had zero to do with it. I got double booked and I'm sorry I missed it because I've heard about it ever since. I go to Giant Eagle. My last 2 trips to Giant Eagle, one guy on the way out, "Hey, at Veterans Assembly." I said, "Yeah, I'm aware." And then, I was back in the bakery on another trip. A guy beelines over. I go to church sometimes. I need all the help I can get. Guy at the end of the pew was a veteran. He was there. I mean, I don't know if you understand or we have a capacity to understand how we touch the veterans community here in Lawrence County. And referencing Mrs. Hardisky's lesson plan, Laurel still teaches capitalism and patriotism. So
Oh, I think that's one of the most important things of the whole thing is you taught these kids sacrifice, dedication, something that is sort of lost in today's society. So I give you guys a lot of thanks.
a little irony to be recognizing you on Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Real quick, I just want to tell you guys, I think the product you have, scores aside, just, you guys get beat over the head with that, I get it, but the product you guys have of the intangibles, whether it's the veterans, I mean, seeing my neighbors and so forth that had a huge smile on their face, posting pictures with my daughters, and it's powerful. Either that or I believe it's the first grade Patriot show. Where the kids get to sing songs, and I mean, you hear about it, you hear the platitudes. Oh, everybody wants to grow up in Laurel, but they do. I mean, and it's not because there's a reason for it. If you guys weren't doing awesome work, people wouldn't give a damn about being here. I mean, it's the same culture. I still feel the same warmth and dedication, when I go to pick my daughters up from stuff now than, what I felt when I was there. So, to a person, you guys are awesome. I mean, it's a great product, regardless of, obviously we look at data, but the intangible stuff, I mean, there's no better product out there than you guys.
that's the difference from good to great.
Unbelievable.
Mr. Sverbley's going to do a collective picture tomorrow when everybody's there, but
Friday morning. Friday morning, we're gonna have the kids come. We'll get everybody. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to report from standing committees. Mr. Kirkwood, discuss this.
Yes, we're actually going to be voting on the first reading of the PSBA. It's a resolution for the principles of governance and leadership. We already actually have this as a policy, but there's some updated language that came through with PSBA. And it's actually under board action items 10, and it is policy
11.
it's policy 11 right there. So take some time if you want to look through it. Just some verbiage has changed, but I strongly encourage us to approve this. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Kirkwood?
If Mr. Rich wants to speak a little bit about what you did for Thanksgiving, it's not you, but the whole
vote that. But appreciate it.
Just like I had nothing to do with the Veterans Assembly, I'm glad to tell you I had nothing to do with the turkey boxes at the CTC. So we have a peer leadership group. One thing I want to say about the Lawrence County CTC is they're about 2/3 direct certified free and reduced lunch. So we're not talking about necessarily the haves. We have some people who are have-nots, but yet these kits were able to collect donations, and we're able to give 50 families a full turkey dinner. The turkey, the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, the corn, the beets, and so or the cranberries, excuse me. So it's become a little bit of a tradition with our peer leadership group, and whether it's that moment of charity or whether it's what we see out of our teachers or out of our kids, we're going to go home tonight and turn on the television, and someone's going to try to divide us. I don't think we are nearly as divided as those shows might attest to. I have ample evidence and experiences in my own life of good quality people, good quality kids who can do great things and maybe even disagree without being disagreeable. So thank you for that moment to share on the turkey boxes.
Did they give the meals away? They made sure they knew how to cook it. Had a way to cook it.
Had a way to cook it. The family must attest that they had an oven, that they know how to use an oven.
1 or 2 students live on their own at that school. They have no one. They do it on their own.
Yes.
This is just a small sampling of what goes on in big cities. Full. But we got money for Ukraine and we'll get the dance.
Back to the shows.
Okay, I'm sorry. Had to throw that in.
Oh, okay, I guess so.
You're right. I'm done.
Item 4, Administrative Supervisors Reports. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Mayor?
We installed vape detectors this past weeks with Mr. Lee that he got from a company in the bathrooms, and we have cameras that were installed in the hallways. I'm sure he may talk more about them, but the cameras they're installed.
These are the vape sensors that are attached to the cameras?
Yes.
Oh,
We winterize the restroom buildings and both the concession stands and remove the booster pump at the restroom buildings. So the outside buildings are put to bed for the winter. We rebuilt the heating pump number 10 off the control room by the wet wrestling room. We found it leaking a couple weeks ago. And not long after that, pump 4 in the high school basement were leaking. They're both back in service. We're ready for the, unfortunately, cold weather coming.
Are
Yes,
we
it is.
required to have any signage up to say these, like if you have a camera up somewhere that tells people whatever, are we required to say that we're monitoring or vaping or anything like that? Like legally? Because I'm assuming if it goes off and.
We're not required, but obviously it's a deterrent to say, premises under surveillance.
Right,
Okay, so that would be a proactive step.
well, right, but you can't really say surveillance in a bathroom.
No, but what you
Right.
can say, I'm thinking about cameras, but what you can say
Right.
relative to the vape detectors is premises are equipped with vape detectors.
Right,
We can.
I'm just thinking,
yeah.
because then if you get into a legal thing where someone said, obviously.
We'll put them up in 5 different languages.
The
And
cameras are offset
Did
from
this-
the entrance. They're not even.
Well, yeah, I
do the
don't
sensors
care
pick
about
up, like,
that so much
cigarette
as
smoke or anything like that?
if
I don't
you're
know.
trying, if you go to say, hey, Mark was caught vaping, Nicole saw him on a camera after the vape sensor, well, legally, someone could say something. I don't know. It's dumb, but.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
Per my understanding and working with the vendor, that is not a concern, but I will go back and get a definitive answer for you in writing.
And
Something.
maybe ask Matt, just to cover ourselves.
All right, Matt. So the question is, if we're getting these vape detectors, do we have any liability or requirements to post that we have vape detectors in the bathroom? So I don't expect you.
I would just say that there's a little less expectation of privacy in the school. So I can look into it in more detail, but you don't have the same type of expectation of privacy that you do, at the mall or at a ball game as compared to being in a school setting.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
It's actually tobacco-free premises.
Okay,
Thank you.
any questions for Ed? Mrs. Bell?
School-wise going very well. Rewarding students for getting 10 in a row on our Spartans board at the elementary with a pizza party on Friday. Rewarded the bus drivers with a cup of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And it is working because our referrals are going down. AP progress reports went home this 2 weeks ago, and we are looking into other alternatives, agencies like IU, Capable Kids for speech and language, because we got 0 applicants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mrs. Bell? Mr. Swartley?
Yeah, so we did send out our quarter one report cards are posted in Almond, emailed, and actually getting ready to send out quarter 2 progress reports already. So the year's moving along quickly. We had our family math and reading fun night, something that we've done year after year. Did a little different this year. Kind of really showed the parents and the kids some fun math and reading games and different things they could do at home and some fun activities. It was well received. We had about 360 in total between parents and kids that came. So we give them a snack, they get a book, and some different things and some activities to do at home. So that's always a great activity that we do, and it was well received this year. We spoke about the Veterans Day Assembly. Mr. Jermansky did a Subathon like he does every year. And we split those proceeds between Project Hope and our Spartan Breadbasket program. Each program got about $740, so the kids are getting for $1,400. So they did a nice job. That's good. We had our annual emergency lockdown drill that we have to have every year. That went very well. It was pretty awesome because the whole idea of that lockdown is they're supposed to hide, and you couldn't even talk to anybody in the building. The kids and teachers did a great job. So that went very well. And as always, we worked with the student council in the high school and collected food items for Project Hope that went out for Thanksgiving.
Any questions for Mr. Swartley? Thank you. Nicole, I did have a question back to the speech person. How are we covering services until we find somebody? Do we have somebody that's...
Well, she's still here.
She's still here
Okay.
until the end of February.
Okay.
I'm just
so-
trying to have someone in place well before if something were to happen.
Okay.
I'm just sort of trying to be ahead of it.
Okay. I know I'll get
I know,
asked you, so I'll... Okay.
I'll
Thank
keep you updated.
Yeah. Never mind.
Winter sports are underway. Everything tipped off last weekend. Special congratulations to Kevin Carmichaels. He got his 100th win as a coach of the wrestling program. We started Winter Keystones this week. Hope to wrap those up next week. And we started our second round of benchmark testing for the PSSAs. And finally, we had 5 students moving on to honors band starting tomorrow. And they're listed there.
Any questions for Mark?
Can the board get a list of the teachers 7 through 12 and what subject they're teaching each period of the day?
The current list?
I guess, yeah, whatever the list would be. I mean, yeah, what's going on today? All right. Appreciate it.
Mark, quick question in regards to honors band. Last year, if I remember correctly, we ran into a situation where we had a student that made it, but then they had all these COVID restrictions.
There's been no restrictions pulled to us so far.
Okay.
I've
Last year they were requiring
Right.
talked to them.
I just remember it was,
Yeah. Periods. So nothing like that so far this year.
okay. Not that I want you to stir the hornet's nest, but I didn't know if they started out there.
Yeah, they haven't said anything.
We got a veterans assembly.
So obviously we heard about our Veterans Assembly at the elementary. We also had our tribute, our patriotic tribute at the high school. I want to make sure that we mention that too, because that was very well attended in the evening. It is nice at both assemblies, they honor every group. And they have them, they have them stand up and they clap for them and honor them. Our reporters obviously were emailed. I'm trying to stay up on attendance, sending letters home as reminders and making phone calls to parents when needed. I actually did have 3 court cases and they were all recently found guilty. So hopefully we can get those students back on track and class.
Any questions for Mrs. Clemens?
Only that, so most of these kids are probably from poor families that you took the court?
I don't believe that they were from
Okay.
that.
I was gonna say, they don't have the money to pay the fine anyway.
They don't always do a fine.
Oh,
There's always other means to it.
And also the parent could be found guilty, the child could be found guilty, or the parent and child can be found guilty.
So they go through, they have a program where students, $8 an hour.
Sorry. It's brought them back to school though?
Community service work does wonders.
Like that?
Community service work does wonders, especially with social media.
Okay, Mr. Robert Lee.
Just a couple notes. Completed all state report submissions for November. We are potentially going to get monitored by the state, so we've been preparing for that. We're in pretty good shape, I would say. And then just some information on the tickets, 157. Our response time is 5 hours, 21 minutes. Ticket close time is 3 days and 2 hours. Things that weren't on this slide, we did put the vape detectors in. We're still working with the vendor to work out a couple of kinks. It's a pilot. And it was working with Mrs. Conrad. She may speak to that to put together an employee portal. Just a couple of the highlights.
Any questions for Mr. Lee? Thank you. Ms. Conrad.
Just wanted to note that Mrs. Bonyak got another food service grant for $500 for her work with the Farmer Day back in October. So she's always looking for, to make a little bit extra for the country. So thanks to her for that, for sure. As Rob mentioned, yes, I just sent the email actually before the meeting, introducing an employee portal, which will hopefully save us some time and paper for sure. It's basically off of our website. It's another click to get into a history of your paychecks. If you want to print your direct deposit, this is for employees that have direct deposit. If you want to print your direct deposit slip off of there, you can. You won't be mailing or stopping them and mailing them out any longer. So I should say.
Save a lot of time.
Yeah.
I would say we might want to reach out to Ed and Joe and Frank and see if we set up some tutorials.
Well, at this point, we're gonna just make it
Voluntary.
Yeah.
By March, we're going to need to train because July 1, when we get to the new fiscal year, we're moving.
For now, it's gonna be status quo for anybody that doesn't have a computer in front of them or join the district. There won't be any change for this, and we're not requiring at this point direct deposit either. So if you prefer paper check, you can still check that. Then I wanted to call, just give you a heads up that in January we'll need to do the resolution not to raise taxes above the index if that's the board's wish. Our index this year is 5%, which is good.
I think we can make that.
If we would raise all the way so that as far as we can go, that would gain us another $7,000 in our budget. That's 0.79 mils if you can get to 1. But just a heads up that that'll be on our January agenda. And the auditor is tentatively planning for January as well to wrap up last year's audit. I don't know which meeting yet. It still hasn't yet. Those are my 2 heads up for January.
Any other questions for Mrs. Conrad? Thank you. Mr. Rich.
I have nothing else to report at this time.
Okay. move on to approval of minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 9th regular meeting of the board.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Nimmo, second by
That'd be
Mr.
Mr. Kirkwood, sir.
Kirkwood. Okay, you guys are gonna have to speak up because I got a loud ringing in my ears, so I hear
Oh,
about
no
half
problem.
stuff.
No.
Well, they look the same and sound the same. I get it.
Yeah. Was it Twins? Was the movie?
Yeah,
Oh, we-
DeVito,
yeah,
and Schwarzenegger.
That's how it would be, yeah.
The motion by Mr. Kirkwood, second by Mr. McGee. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries. Item 2B, minutes from the November 21st Athletic Committee meeting, approval of the minutes from the November 21st Athletic Committee of the board. Have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mr. Dix. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. See if I can do those out of order. Item 7, Mr. Hammersmith, will you please take the treasurer's report and the bill list?
7A is Treasury Report for November 2022. We have a balance of $711,820.96. Receipts during November is $1,551,991.33. And that leaves us expenditures for $1,146,180.04. And that leaves the balance in November of $1,117,632.25. Also, I'd like to include the investment report, and I put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hammersmith, second by Mr. Kuth. Any discussion on the motion? Any abstentions? Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
8, approval of bill listings. A, list the general fund payments, and B, list the food service fund payments. I put that in form of a motion.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Hammersmith, second by Mr. McGee. Any discussion on the motions? Any opposed? All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. Item 9, personnel. Mr. McGee, will you please?
Absolutely. So we have retirements and resignations. To approve the resignation of Robin Howell as the interim varsity cheer advisor, effective November 10th. Ms. Howell will be paid 20% of the first half of step 1 stipend in the amount of $435. I put this in the form of motion.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mr. Kuth. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries.
Item B, varsity cheer co-coaches. To approve Miss Lori Heights and Miss Jenna Burks as varsity cheer coaches for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. Mrs. Heights will be paid 10% of the first half of the 50% of the second half of step 7 stipend, which equates to a total of $1,890. Ms. Burks will be paid 10% of the first half of the 50% in the second half in step 1 as a step 1 stipend for a total amount of $1,305. I put this in the form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mrs. Ensko. Any discussion on the motion? Any abstentions? Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Redfoot, I would like to put items number C, E, F, and G in the form of a motion. This is for our open cafeteria position, professional development workshops and seminars for our staff, administrators, additions to the volunteer non-instructional substitute listing, our elementary teacher position, and the mentor teacher.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mr. Nemo. Any discussion on any of the motions? Any abstentions? Any negative?
Do we need to do a roll call? No, okay. It's defined as a roll call, that's correct. Sorry, Mr. Redfoot.
That's all right. And all in favor?
Aye.
Motions carry C through G.
Congratulations, Sue.
You're stuck now.
Item 10.
I didn't want to make you wait all night.
Item 10, board action items, committee of the whole. Item 1 is policy first reading of policies 1, 0, 11, 200, 202, 204, 217, 221, 233, 251, and 810.
I did send a summary to the board spreadsheet with the explanation, and today's vocabulary word is educationally unstable population. All right, so that's because these policies are only 2 years old, but that reference is homeless, foster care, migrant workers. So we're not changing anything we do, but since the 200s is where you'll find all of our student policies, you will find many insertions of educationally unstable population. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So moved on that motion, Mr. Redfoot.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kirkwood, second by Mr. McGee. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 10, approve the disposal of and donation of unused library reference materials. Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ensko, second by Mr. McGee. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Winter athletics, grant approval for coaches, student finalists, and or teams in basketball, wrestling, and cheerleading to participate in the 2022-23 WPIAL championship finals should they qualify.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ensko, second by Mr. McGee. Any opposed? Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The adult walking program, approved for the 22-23 adult walking program to be held at the Laurel Elementary School Monday through Thursdays from 6 to 8, beginning December 12th, 2022 through February 23, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dix, second by Mr. Kirkwood.
So I have a question on that. I don't know how it really works. Like, when they come in for this walking program, like, do they have to like sign in, like who they are, or do they just come in, anybody off the street come in and just start walking around the school? And we have kids down playing basketball,
So normally they put the gate down,
so then they can't get down
so
to where we're at.
so the walking program is up in the big rectangle, and then the kids are kept down.
Perfect, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion?
That girl's going to the bathroom.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 10 is approve the 22-23 adult basketball program to be held at the Laurel Middle High School on Wednesdays from 8:30 to 10, beginning December 14th through February 22nd.
who's the one throat to choke?
What's that again?
Who's the one throat to choke on this? Like who's running it who's coming in and running it?
There's always the.
Or is it just an open gym?
Well, see, I had a question on that too. Years ago, when we used to always do this, it was Laurel alumni only.
Yeah.
And then before COVID hit, it kind of started going away from that. You know, I thought it was more organized and better when it was just Laurel alumni, but I don't know.
Well, what about Laurel people that aren't?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fine too. But you get people from all over the
Corey,
place.
You're more than welcome to amend the motion to restrict use to Laurel graduates and Laurel residents.
Do we get that many people? Do we even have any idea who comes in?
I mean, we haven't done it since before COVID, because I
Yeah.
used to always go, and like I said, Tommy Parker ran it.
Noah Wirtz was there pre-COVID.
Was that?
Noah
Yeah,
No,
Wirtz
no,
was
just
there.
play.
Yeah, who's asking, like, who, is there somebody that's like sponsoring it
That's what I was
from
wondering.
a?
No, this has always been a community program, just like the
Okay.
walking. So there's
Okay.
not been a sponsor
Okay.
of the walking. There's not been a sponsor of the basketball. It's something that the board has allowed the community to
Yeah,
use
that's
the
always a good
facility.
thing.
Yeah.
Basketball days are over.
Come on, Bobby, I'll get out there. We've already done
Come
it.
on, maybe Bobby needs to come Thursdays at 6.
The only thing I would say to that, like if you are trying to get some good games and you don't have enough guys that show up,
Yeah,
now you could maybe kill the whole thing. That would be my only concern. Like,
Right.
right.
if you have guys that are older, that want to play, typically there's not going to be problems. In my experience, it was the young guys, when young bucks, that's when you had stuff that would happen.
Yeah.
You might even
So then
say
it's
that they have
just
to
like-
come with somebody that's, I mean, obviously, like if my son, for example, a lot of his friends are from Neshannock or Shenango. So he might say, hey, Ty, you wanna go shoot hoops?
Right.
Like, I don't know.
No, we're just keeping it though, just adult, like no high school
No.
students or anybody.
Right. I was just asking about the throat to choke in case there was a mess and they'd had to clean it up. Who,
Yeah, because there was always somebody that was in charge. Years ago,
Yeah.
it was Sturbridge,
right.
then it was McFarland, and then it became.
Barker did it for,
Jermansky did it for a while.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
always somebody that was at least there, you know.
Well, let's see who comes and maybe we could talk to their leader.
Yeah, because for
Rick
a
was
while
in
there, when
charge
they used
for
to
a
hold it up
while.
at the high
Rick was
school
always
here,
there.
McFarland used to make us sign waivers.
right.
So in case you got hurt or something, school wasn't liable.
Mm.
I mean, that's what McFarland used to always make us
Yeah,
do.
but
That was
I-
years ago.
That
You
was
could
a
always
long
have a
time.
sign on the
Yeah.
thing entering as it were in risk and the school's not liable for anything. happening.
Which you're still going to be liable and they're still going to sue. So.
Yeah. Okay, that was my only question.
Well, they get one shot. Anybody pulls that trick, it's the death penalty to the whole.
Good enough.
Same way with fighting or anything else.
Mhm.
They become
Yeah.
animals, it's over. I think they need to learn that.
My knowledge, there was never any problem in the past.
Yeah,
Have we ever had any problem at all?
No.
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge. Back when I played. there
Like,
was
right,
no
I
issues.
lost- yeah.
There's enough of our people there, Kabish.
I can try to let you go.
Get ripped off.
I don't know.
Oh,
But you came and played with us once.
I know. Yeah, what do you play what?
Ricky, me, Alan, we played, that was a long time ago
I'm not second.
Hey, can I just add one thing?
though. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mr. Nemo.
Correct.
Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item F, to approve the following homeowners to pay the 2022 real estate taxes at face instead of penalty due to the June 22nd closing and tax bills not being received. Do I have that a motion?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ensko, second by Mr. McGee. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. On item G, IDEA agreement with the Midwestern Intermediate Unit for the 2023 school year. Recommendation, approve the attached agreements with the Midwestern Intermediate Unit for implementation of IDEA for the 22-23 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mr. Dix. Any discussion on the motion? Any opposed? Abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 11, is there any new business? One thing, we'll probably look at the committees. I mean, I'm assuming everybody's pretty happy where they're at. I don't see any big changes, but with Jim and I trading places, there'll probably be something there. But if there's anything anybody wants off of or was interested in, let me know. But other than that, any questions or comments from the floor relative to non-agenda items? With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McGee, second by Mr. Hammerschmidt. Any discussion, opposition, abstentions, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is adjourned.
Good night, Matt.
Thank you for coming out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.